The mark of your ignorance is the depth of your belief in injustice and tragedy. What the caterpillar calls the end of the world, the master calls a butterfly. I was talking with a woman a few months ago who is facing an incredible physical challenge in her life. And she's been going to doctors, she's been hospitalized for months at a time, and she has an organ that is just shutting down, and nobody can figure out why. And she's in her 30s. She's a mother of little children. And she's facing her life right now, of whether she's going to actually get to continue in this physical living. Obviously, we believe that we put aside this body and we move on into the spiritual realm, and so therefore it never ends. But for mothers in this room, you can very much relate with the fact that you don't want to go, and it would be quite unfair to have to leave early before we raised our children. And when I'm meeting with this woman, she says to me, I just feel like if I could just get a break and if I could just go to sleep, because the anxiety and the stress and the fear that she feels around this illness and this lack of doctors being able to figure out what's going on, if she could just sleep at night, she feels that her body would start to remember how to function correctly. Because the more she gets more in fear, the more she's focusing on it, the more she's not sleeping, and this is turning into this death sentence. And finally I said to her, what is it that you're thinking about at night? What is it that's going on that's keeping you from sleeping? And she says, well, it's like I just don't want it to hit me how bad my life has become. I don't want to face that I'm terrified of dying. I don't want to even think about it. I don't want to contemplate it. I'm afraid that it'll be like the law of attraction. You know how we talk spiritually, what we look upon we're going to create. So she doesn't ever want to see her children without her. So she's putting this all in this pile and avoiding her fears. But what those fears are doing is just beating her up. And she can't go to bed. And she can't go to sleep. And I said, what would happen if you went and you merged yourself with your fear? She's like, I'm afraid that I would die. I'm afraid that the pain and the fear would kill me. But what other choice does she have? She's already dealing with this situation that they're saying is not looking so good. And so many of us do this. We're so afraid to come into the truth of our being. We will spend our whole life keeping ourselves from feeling that one greater thing, that one limitation, that one conflict of interest, that thing about ourselves that we don't want to face, but is that very thing that's taking all of our joy away. And if we just turn and meet it, I'm terrified I'm going to die. I'm terrified that I'm going to feel mad at God. I'm terrified that I'm going to start crying. I'm never going to stop. I'm terrified that I'm going to merge, that I'm dying, and then I'm going to die. But have you ever had the time when your life just stops you? The conflict or the situation or the job you lost or the spouse that left you that you can't believe or the thing that just happened out of nowhere and your life just stops. And you finally let yourself feel it. Months go by because you're in shock and grace and all those things held you, and then finally you have to feel it. And the tears just start to fall. And it doesn't take 6 hours. It doesn't take the hours you think it would take. It's 20 minutes or an hour. And all of a sudden, you're so connected to your heart. You're connected to your being. And the very facing your feelings makes you feel whole again. You don't need that drink. You don't need that drug. You're with the truth of your being. Because at the basis of all these painful things that happen in our lives is a great gift. One door shuts, two open. It is what it is, and then something opens. When I surrender and I merge with my fears, the light opens. Everything that happens in our life is bringing us home. Everything that happens in our life is bringing us home. So finally, this woman faced her fear. And she cried at the thought of her children being raised without her. She thought of the last minutes of seeing her children and how could she ever leave? All the fears that she had of what this illness is taking from her. And she cried. And she cried. And then she went to sleep. And what did she say to me originally? If I could just sleep, I feel like my body would remember how to function. And guess what happened? Her numbers immediately started improving on that organ, showing that it's coming back alive. And this is still a process that's happening. We have all had those opportunities for the universe to show us that it's honorable. No matter how terrifying. I've seen people with terminal illnesses and given the most horrific things from doctors and spouses telling you that you're terrible or whatever, projections all over the place. But I have seen people overcome things that are supposed to be impossible. So much I cannot tell you. Growing up in a church is such an amazing gift because we watch people. Our whole life is doing christenings, weddings, funerals. It's the whole process. And in the midst of it is christenings, miracle, 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 weddings, miracle, 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 funerals, die, emergence, beauty, family growth. But life's hard. And life's not easy. And it wasn't meant to be easy. Because the truth is we're here as divine beings with a greater purpose, a greater work to do than just to self-soothe, as the therapist would like us to do. I'm not saying some people don't have clinical depressions, but that fear that woman was feeling, all they wanted to do is drug that feeling. But in that feeling is the miracle. And we're all missing it. We're all missing the moment of why we're here. These difficult things are a gift. But they're piling and piling and piling, and we're becoming more and more alcoholics and drug addicts and medication takers, and this pill will make me tired, and this pill will make me up, and this pill will make me numb, and this pill will... When this whole physical being was made perfect in the image and likeness of God. How many times have you heard that? But do you believe it? Do you believe that you have this serotonin? Do you believe you have these things to give you the joy that you're seeking so much for on the outside? That you have the ability to work miracles and more?